there was a few of us, and we one night did like a whiskey tasting, like a bar crawl, except with
Oh,
scotch. Yeah. So we went to all these different bars, and because they didn't do their own flights, we just made our own. And there's
yeah,
like the different, I don't know, I'd call them a genre of whiskey. There's probably a right name, but there's the smoky ones, the peaty ones.
yeah. You
We
got
would just,
Smoky, PT, and
yeah, we
yeah,
just like picked one of each and
yeah.
just like had a flight of like five or six, and like on
Oh,
third or fourth pub we're feeling it.
it doesn't take much, eh?
No, no, not at all, man. Alrighty, Sam, we're here. We're back for round two. Um,
Indeed.
Given that we had a few technical difficulties on the first one, we were only a few minutes in though, which was a good thing.
Yeah,
But I thought we would start off from the top again, where we sort of started with our first tester round. Could you
yeah.
just give us a bit of a background into who you are, where you're from, the main things that have made you into the person you are now, just to give us all a bit of context into who you are?
Righto. Name's Sam McPherson. I'm the youngest sibling of two. Older brother Ben, and I'm the youngest to Rod and Jackie McPherson. Um, they planted themselves in the Bay of Plenty in 1983, and 7 years later they welcomed my oldest brother into the world. And then 7 years after that, they welcomed me into the world. I was born and raised on a farm in Thornton, just near Blueberry Corner, which was great as a kid, whipping across the paddock eating ice cream.
Yep.
Um, Grew up with quite a sporty childhood. My dad was a very keen rugby player, and in his time also a very good triathlete, which was sort of where my brother was heading at the time too. And being brought up around sport and triathlon and whatnot, I was always the mascot, handing out the Moro bars at the end of the triathlon. Dad actually helped start the Hopi Tri Club with some mates many years ago. Probably would have been the early 90s, I would guess. And yeah, I never really got into it. I did do a couple of triathlons myself when I was well a real young tacker, maybe 4 or 5. Um, Fondest memory of that was my first ever try on the bike leg. I missed my turn off for the kids and decided to do the men's leg of the bike. So when I got to the finish line, I noticed all the kids were already back and I was returning with all the men, and everyone was going, "What's this kid up to? Where's he been?" And yeah, someone said, "Oh, he's just, taken the long route and gone down the men's league." So yeah, that was my first touch on triathlon, and it never really stuck for me. As for my brother, he stuck at it for a while and also got into his swimming hard out and got into his road cycling too. Could have gone somewhere if he stuck to it, but yeah, he chose other things in life and decided to become a builder. And now he's a father of 3 with a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful kids. As for myself, once I got into primary school, I was real keen on the football, soccer, um, and yeah, I progressed quite well through my primary school years with football, as well as athletics and cross country. Very active kid. Uh, Took quite a few wins in my day with the cross country,
Woohoo.
going to the inter schools,
Yeah.
running up at the old Manawa inter school cross country. That was always a tough test. I think pardon me, I think the course was maybe about 3.5 k, but it was all just hills, and obviously in
Brutal.
Manawa you're at some altitude at that point, so the air's a little bit thinner. But yeah, I did have a very sporty upbringing through my primary school days. Coming into high school, continued with the football, stuck with that, and actually got into a men's football team, the Plains Rangers, who I still play for today. I think I had my first season with them at the age of 14 or 15. And yeah, I've found a family in those lads and a few of the guys, a few of your mates too, Cam, with the
Hmm.
Wild boys,
Oh, yep.
old Hamish and Hayden, and even Ben Wild.
Yep.
Yeah, me and Hamish are the 2 OGs still kicking around. So
Still
yeah,
getting
no,
red cards.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, I got a few cards myself this season, but yeah. Um, Upon mid high school years, I ended up taking up motocross. Luckily for me, my brother had a bike from his days of getting into it that I was able to adopt basically. And yeah, I got really keen into my motocross through, I'd say from 15 right up until I was 21, 22. It was a big part of my life, and obviously, yeah, being another form of sport, a lot more physical than what I was used to, but I adapted pretty quick. And when you're doing any sport with people that are better than you, and you surround yourself with people that are better than you, you're gonna achieve a lot in a short period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got quite keen on the motocross and stuck with that right through my high school days. A few crashes here and there, but luckily while I was still young, I never actually broke any bones. Um, Definitely had some spills where I should have broken bones, but got lucky. Upon completing high school, I spent a year in Austria. Was fortunate enough to do a Rotary Youth Exchange. So I was parked up in Vienna for a year, learning the German language. Probably should still be fluent, but yeah, I sort of lost my touch there. But all in all, great life experience to travel and see the world when you're young and full of life. So yeah, glad I got that one on the bucket list and ticked that off. And then, yeah, upon returning home to the homeland of New Zealand, stuck with my motocross for another year or two before it started to catch up, and the risk versus reward just wasn't there anymore. I broke my foot, my right foot, doing a wheelie, and that
Oh,
was a wake up call. And it wasn't even anything spectacular, it was just got a bit cocky, came off the back, and I've broken my foot. So that was my
oh,
first broken bone on a dirt bike.
yep.
And then about a year later, had my first nasty accident on my dirt bike and smashed my ankle to pieces,
Mm-hmm.
which resulted in my right ankle being fused. Um,
Oh, damn.
my surgeon actually told me after it happened that I would probably never run again. Um, and yeah,
Look at you
I'm,
now.
I'm I'm yet to see him and say, "Hey, bud, I'm running." It started with getting back into football. That was my gradual ease back into sport. After about I'd like to say 4 year hiatus, maybe 5 year hiatus with no football and no sport in general. Yeah, took up football again with the Rangers, and yeah, got the family back with that, and got my health back. Started running. Ankle hasn't given me any issues, so yeah, here I
Man,
am
that's
doing
epic, man.
yeah.
I didn't realize how much of a sporting background you had. It's a lot of different stuff you've done. Why do you think that is? Obviously, it sounds like your dad was a big enabler in that, but was it part of that, and also just growing up in Whakatane? I feel like Whakatane is a really active town. It feels like almost everyone plays sport. Like, what were some of those driving forces that got you into sport?
Yeah, big factor of that was definitely Dad. He, no matter what sport we chose, obviously being a rugby player himself, with both myself and my brother playing football, that was
True.
that was a bit of pill that he had to swallow. But hey,
Yeah.
we were both good at football, so he supported us 100% of the way. And like I said, with my brother having a bike, he did dabble in motocross for a few years. And yeah, we were just really fortunate that no matter what we wanted to give our hand to, both parents were there to support us and let us have a crack. And like you say, with Whakatane, there's some great achievers come out of little old
Yeah,
Whakatane. We've
man.
got the likes of Lisa Carrington, Karen Hanlon, Hayden Wild,
Yeah,
and the list goes on. There are very very good athletes come out of
yeah,
Whakatane, and that just props to the diversity of the secondary schools in the Bay of Plenty, Eastern Bay of Plenty especially, that really have good sports programs that help young athletes pursue what they want to do. And I mean, even if they don't pursue it to an extent where they make a career out of it, it's something that they've got for life. It's a routine that they can, even if they don't follow that routine
yeah,
post high school life, they do have that routine. Muscle memory reboots itself when
yeah.
you get back into that sort of stuff. So yeah, overall, I think it was a mix of just having very supportive parents and having that support system in the Whakatane community itself. It's a great, awesome area to grow up, and just an enabling community and area to do what you like, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like when I had Hayden on the podcast, he was saying the same thing. Like for such a small town, Whakatane represents on the world stage. Like per capita, it is wild
Mm.
how wild. That's a good pun. It's wild how many top athletes we have, including the Olympians and stuff. But that's an interesting point actually you make about how if you do sport at high school, you you f- can form some positive habits that you actually can take outside of school, even if you say like temporarily you might lose them for a while
100%.
maybe going out every weekend and going to uni and stuff maybe is more of the priority. But yeah, I haven't really thought about that, how sport at high school can actually produce some positive habits because you
Yeah,
have to train after school or before school, or your weekends are taken up with responsibilities.
indeed. Yeah.
And now this 200k challenge you've taken on this year, you've done Movember. How many years you been doing Movember now? Feels like quite a few.
This is my 4th year as
Yeah,
a Mobro, is what they call it. When you
yeah,
sign up to the Movember page, you become a Mobro. So yeah, this is my 4th year doing it.
yeah. And the physical challenge this year, where did that come about? How
Um,
tell me the story. What's the origin story?
well, the origin story. So I obviously, 4 years ago, I sort of was at a low point as such, and I decided, oh, you know what, I'm going to do Movember. I'm going to grow a mo. I've never had the challenge of growing a mo because of my genes.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I thought I'm going to grow a mow and I'm going to try raise some money for a good cause. And yeah, I've been doing that the past 3 years. And come this year, I thought, well, growing a mow isn't much of a challenge. And I went on the space on the website and I was scrolling through the list and I'm going, actually, I'm going to do a physical challenge this year. And I'd only been running for, I think I went for my first run on about October the 12th.
what?
Yeah.
That's
So
insane.
that's aside from football, like football
Yeah,
season ended a while ago and the fitness was okay from that. But yeah, I went for my first legitimate run on about the 12th of October and I think I done 3K
fuck,
and I was fucked. I was
bro.
I thought I was gonna puke a lung, to say the least. Um
Fuck.
I done one run a week and then the following week I went for two 5K runs. And then the last week of October, I done another two 5Ks, and then I think I done a 7.5 or an 8K run. And I was sore, my legs were sore. I didn't have any sort of recovery plan, no nothing. It was just it was a way for me to sort of clear my head and thought, right, I'm just gonna go for a run.
Yeah,
And then I got a bit optimistic and I thought, I'm going to set myself a really hard challenge here. Like I've never challenged myself for Movember, so this is it. So I thought, I'm going to try run 200k this month. I don't care how much pain my body's in. I'm just going to use my, strong mentality and just push through it. And yeah, it's brought me to here. And not going to lie, the first week was pretty hard. I think I got about 40Ks in. I done 10K on my first day and then kept it pretty consistent through that first week with 10K runs. Um, and the first weekend, I actually busted out a 16K with my uncle.
fuck.
And I think that was where my legs were like, oh, easy horse,
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
You're not
yeah,
ready
yeah,
for
yeah.
this. So I done the 16K, which put me ahead of schedule for where I wanted to be for the goal. And I decided to be a silly prick and go for a run on Monday. And I just run 16 on the Sunday. So I drove to the Mount after work on the Monday and I done a 10K loop from Tay Street round the Mount and back. And I ended up beating my 10K PB by about 4 minutes.
What?
And it was then I realized, okay, this is good, but my knee started swelling up,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, here we go. I'm like a week in, this is not good. I've got a big goal to achieve, so I went and saw a physio who is one of the football boys' mums, and she's a great physio. And she basically said, look, your burst is in your knee. have let a bit of fluid go. Um, just don't run on it for a few days. She goes, have you given yourself rest days? And I said, well, I've given myself 10, but I don't want to use them all. So she
Yeah.
goes, take 4, see how you feel. And she gave me some exercises and basically some recovery programs as such. I've got an ice bath set up, which I've been using religiously. That's been great. Massage gun been great.
Yeah.
And obviously loading some protein into the system post workout just to get those muscles the protein they need. And
Hmm.
that was all thanks to her basically. And the sports massage she gave me actually made my knee go down the following day,
Oh wow.
which had me thinking, oh, I'm going to go for another run. And I thought, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
don't be silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I held back. I took the 4 days, and then once that knee came right again, I thought, okay, we'll go back out and we'll start pushing again. So I did go for a couple more runs and just took it easy on the 10K. Wasn't trying to break any PBs, and yeah, from there I've been doing 10Ks at least most days of the week.
Yeah.
Um, I might use my weekends as a rest, but yeah, basically been aiming for 10Ks a day. If not, my last loop has been 11.7K. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're just ticking away.
That's inspiring stuff, man. It's like so like, I got back into running last year and it is not easy, man, especially running on the road. There's something
Yeah,
about it that is just it's just unrelenting on the body. If you have
it's
any little technique breakdown, it just gets amplified. If you're running on flat pavement and you have a little bit of a sore something, it
yeah,
just like gets hammered versus like we've been doing some trail running and it's so different. You're up, you're down, you're walking, it's very dynamic. But
yeah.
pavement is just it's pretty ruthless on the body.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And I was quite surprised when my knee swelled up. I
Mm.
thought, I knew at some stage during the 200K, some part of my body was not going to agree with
Yeah.
this goal.
Yeah.
And I thought the first thing that would give out would be my ankles from, motocross injuries and a slight sprain at football this season. I thought, oh no, how are my ankles going to hold up? And my ankles have been sweet,
Yeah.
which is quite a shock to me because I thought that was going to be the first point of grief. So yeah. Apart from that, fit and healthy now. As I spoke to you earlier, I've seen a masseuse this afternoon, and she's been great. I've been trying to see her weekly, um, and yeah, honestly, just I think recovery is the biggest part of it. If you
Mm.
can be just as active with your recovery as you are with the actual workout, it just helps you keep going.
Yeah.
But
Pays dividends, eh?
aside, yeah, I mean, aside from that, you do have to have that little bit of mental stupidity to be like, yep, just go do it.
Mm.
No excuses. Just get out there and do it again. So
What
yeah.
what was the given that you don't have much experience when it comes to running this kind of mileage, what was the plan of attack going into it? Like, how did you structure it? Like you're saying, you're mostly going for 10K runs a day. Was that the strategy? Did you have a different plan before you started?
Yeah. So the goal was obviously I did think it through a little bit.
Nice,
Um,
that's good.
when, when it came to what the 30th or 31st of October, I broke it down and I thought, right, I can either try run every day, and I think it was going to equate to like 7.5K every day,
Yeah,
um, or I could notch it up and do 10K over 20 days and allow myself 10 days rest. So that's been the goal, basically 20 days, just push, get those 10Ks in, and then use those 10 days to, like I say, injuries occur. You got to have time to recover. You don't want to make stuff worse. So yeah, that was the smartest plan. And I knew that the 10K was going to be hard. And the first two 10Ks I did, they were very,
yeah,
very hard on the body, very hard on the lungs. But I've already noticed a massive change in my fitness over the past 3 weeks. And I mean, I still break a sweat doing 10K, don't get me wrong there. But when I walk in the door, I can untie my shoes without going, oh shit, that
ouch.
hurts,
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah, there's been some pluses come out of it already.
yeah, how long is the 10K? Is that around the hour kind of mark?
Yeah, so yeah, if I do 10K on the dot, my quickest I think has been like a 56,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh no, I think a 54 minute
Shit, that's pretty
10K.
quick, man.
So I'm holding a steady pace, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to break my records when I go out, but sometimes the right song comes on, and I
Yeah,
just
wear
get
it
into
on.
a rhythm and just keep going, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and where are you at with your overall mileage now?
I'm currently sitting at 146 k's, so I've got 54 to
146.
go, and I've got 9 days left to complete it. So it's tracking
Oh,
well.
yeah, man, for sure. Easy. And what do you think are some of the high level learnings that you've taken from this experience? It sounds like you're already alluding to pushing through a bit of pain, pushing through some challenge, probably having to do it when you probably don't feel like doing it.
Yep.
So what have you learnt about yourself through this experience?
Um, I've learnt that I've got a lot more willpower than I initially thought I had.
Yeah,
Um, I think once I started, grinding, um, I realised, it's not that hard. And then obviously once the body starts getting a little bit sore, your mind starts playing tricks on you. You think, oh, it is a bit hard, but that's when you just got to kick that to the back seat and go, oh, you just got to do it. I mean, last Friday the weather was horrible,
yeah,
and all the boys were coming around after work to have beers here, and I wanted to hit the 100k mark by halfway through the month.
yeah.
So I finished work the whole day, pissing down with rain. Work finished, still pissing down with rain, and I was at 85 k's. And all the boys were like, "Oh, come home for a beer." I was like, "Yeah, I'll be home for a beer, but I've got to go for a run." And they're like, "Are you serious in this
What?
shit?"
Yeah,
Like, it's pissing down with rain. And I was like, well, if I make an excuse because it's raining, I'll make an excuse for something else.
yeah,
If I don't make an excuse for raining and I do it, then I will do it no matter what.
yeah,
So I chucked my rain jacket on, and I done 15k last Friday in the rain.
man. What is it
So
like finishing that? How do you feel when you like stop your watch, you did your 15K? Like, how does that feel?
it honestly gives you like a little buzz.
Yeah.
I never really understood the highs of running.
Mm.
Like I used to be the guy that would drive past people running in the morning or in the afternoon, and I go, look at this dickhead going for a run. Like, look at him, he's
What are you
probably in pain
doing?
right now. I'm going home for a beer,
Yeah,
and now I'm that dickhead. People
yeah,
driving past, and I see them driving, looking at me, and I'm like, yep, I'm that dickhead. But
yeah,
I mean, there will be no high similar to the adrenaline that I used to get through motocross and whatnot, but
yeah,
yeah, there is something about just going out for a run, just the clarity you get, mental clarity, and you can't think about anything else because you're either focused on the foot going in front of the other foot, or you're off looking at some birds flying.
yeah, yeah,
You're away with the fairies, but yeah, it's as weird as it sounds, it's fun.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot, especially since getting back into the road running, and it's almost like you have this little bit of amnesia after you do it. You're like, oh man, I feel so good. Like you feel really accomplished. You did something hard, and then give it 48 hours, and you almost forget that it produces that kind of feeling, which is,
Yeah.
I think it's a catch-22 because that's what also makes it so great at the same time. You don't just go out for a run because you're like, I know I'm going
Yeah.
to feel good after this. You're like, oh, fuck, I have to go for a run again. And then you're 20
100%.
minutes through, 30 minutes, and then you finish. You're like, oh, man. Like you feel
Yeah.
so great that you tick something off. And that feeling of, especially in that instance where you're like, the boys want me to come for a beer, but I'm still not. And I
Yeah.
also hit the goal. And then you can
Yeah.
have a beer after that. Like, I'm sure
Oh,
that must have felt so good.
I tell you what, that beer tasted so good,
Yeah,
so
man.
good. That was
Yeah, yeah,
great. But yeah, like you say, I think you do sometimes when you feel like you don't want to work out, whether it be running or working out, and you think ahead of, you get to that like 5k mark, or you get halfway through your gym routine or whatever, and you think about the pain that you're in, but then you think about the end result, and once
yeah,
you're finished and you're like, oh yeah, no, I just accomplished that. And even if it's repetitive and you're doing it day after day, you're like, oh, I just accomplished that again.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you do it the next day and it's, oh, I've done it again.
yeah,
And it just, yeah, it just drives you to go, 1% more each time, 1% better every day.
yeah. Honestly, I think it feels like such a life hack. Like you
Yeah.
don't want to go for a run, and then you're halfway into your run. I don't know. I just feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like this feels like Like
yeah,
it's bringing me so much benefit right now versus sleeping in or putting the thing off or having a rest day today. Obviously, rest days are needed, caveat, but
yeah,
like pushing the thing off versus like just doing the thing now, like not saving
100%.
today's thing for tomorrow. Like
Yeah,
just do it today.
yeah. Couldn't
Yeah,
agree more.
yeah. And are there any other? I don't know. I guess that's one learning. Is there anything else that you've learned about yourself in terms of maybe goal setting, breaking down goals, how to stick at something, like structuring this? Because this big goal isn't something you've done before. So it's not like you've had data on, like, yep, I know I can do 50K weeks. So 200Ks, that's very achievable. What was it like coming into this without much data? Almost just like a guessing game.
Um, I'm still learning the structure as we
Yeah,
go now. Like yeah, there's 200 Ks for this month, and I'm not going to stop running after that. I'm gonna keep at it. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I am learning to restructure, how my day goes. It's not, my structure isn't just wake up, go to work, come home, cook dinner, go to bed.
yeah,
Now it's wake up, have breakfast, go to work, and then I get home, might chuck some washing on or whatever. Just have a little bit more productivity just
yeah,
with that extra boost of energy that I get from the running, and then I do that one chore, whether it be washing or making my bed, whatever, and then I go for my run. And I
yeah,
know that it's only an hour out of my day, and with
yeah.
daylight savings, I come home and it's still light.
True.
And I come home, I've got the ice bath filled up, chuck my ice in it, sit there for 5 minutes, and then I come inside, prep dinner, and then go to bed. So
Yeah,
it's just one extra thing that you're adding to the structure, but it's helping you sort of restructure how you're pushing forward.
yeah. Have you found that it's made you more productive outside of the running?
100%.
Yeah. Like other
Yeah.
things become easier, right?
Yeah.
Is it-
There there
Yeah,
are there has been a couple of days where I've been a little bit tired
yeah,
and the next day, and I think it's just because of the amount of Ks that I am doing,
yeah,
and the fact that it is a bit of a shock to my body. But as things go on, it's only going to get easier.
yeah, yeah.
So
Do you, because you got a Garmin, right?
yeah.
Do you track your HRV? Is your HRV balanced?
Um,
Do
I
you?
don't think I've checked that. It does come
Ah,
up it does come up at the end of my runs,
yeah.
but
It'll
I'll have
be.
to have
Oh, yeah. You probably could check it on your watch. Actually, yeah, it's easy to check in the app. I'm just
yeah.
curious because like HRV is the uh, a good indicator on how recovered you are. So if your
Um,
HRV is quite low, it shows
yeah,
you that you're not recovered. So I would be interested to see how your HRV is responded to.
because
Um,
it tells me my body
body better.
battery in the
Yeah,
mornings. And I mean, I try religiously to get at least, minimum 7.5 hours sleep, 8.
yeah,
And my body battery, even after a run, is like maybe 55 in the morning. I think the lowest it's been is like
really.
40.
Yeah.
But
What?
I don't feel it. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah. What's your
But
sleep score? You get a sleep score in the morning? Like,
oh,
what's your
yeah,
average sleep score? You
that
need to be
my
looking into all this data, mate. You got a fancy watch.
sleep. Here we go. Okay, my sleep score last night was 87. Quality was good.
Oh, that's solid.
Plenty, plenty of REM.
Yeah.
So
It'd be interesting to see the trend from the start of November and your HRV and your sleep.
yeah,
I feel like it might have like taken a pretty strong dip and then
yeah,
maybe it's like kind of coming back up now.
creeping back up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
I'll have to
interesting.
I'll have to bring it up at the end of the month, and I'll do a bit of
Yeah,
a stats read up, and I'll
yeah.
send it.
That would be really interesting. I'd like that. Now, you mentioned that 4 years ago you were at a bit of a low point and you thought, why not give this Movember thing a bit of a punt? Can you speak to mental health and what that has looked like throughout your journey? Because you've been through some clearly very, very challenging times
Yeah.
with your dad passing. But so can you speak to your mental health and that experience a little bit, what that's been like for you?
So I think my lowest point, yeah, would have been, what are we now? I think it was 2020. So yeah, good 4 years ago, and Obviously, lockdown happened, and I'd smashed my ankle right at the start of
Oh,
lockdown.
fuck.
And prior to that, I was happy. I think I still had my dirt bike. I was working. I had a partner. And then came into lockdown, smashed ankle. I think I was non-weight bearing on it for 9 months. And I spent the whole lockdown in Taupo with my ex-partner, and I basically spent the whole time playing Warzone and eating and drinking beer.
Did you get
So
good at Warzone
I got all right.
though?
I should have been better for the amount of hours that I put into that game. I should have been
Yeah.
better, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not my niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but no, coming out of lockdown, all I'd done was eat, slept, and drank and play video games. And that dragged me down quite far. I actually came out of lockdown at 130 kegs at my
Damn, bro.
heaviest.
Shit. What are you
Um,
now?
Sitting around the 90 mark, I think. I haven't weighed
Unreal.
myself in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, came out of lockdown and then went through a breakup, um, which at the time I was 21, I think, which was pretty hard on me,
Yeah.
especially the terms of how it happened, and being the state that I was in, being overweight for my height and still recovering from my ankle and shit. It was, yeah, I got into a pretty dark place. And one day I was actually thinking about taking my own life and came quite close to it.
Fuck.
I still had shitloads of prescription medicine from the ankle, and I took the farm quad down the back of the beach one day with a whole box, and I was, fully going to
Fuck.
send it.
Damn.
Um, and while I was sitting there was actually an old couple walked past, and they stopped, smiled, and just asked how I was. And I never thought that was, they talk about, the how are you, embracing it, having a chat. And I didn't think but that was what flipped the switch for me. And I ended up, just broke down in front of them and told them I had to go. So I headed home. And when I got home, Dad was actually the one there. He realised something was up. I don't know if he, felt something
Yeah.
but I got home and Dad was waiting in the carport and asked me what was going on, blah blah blah, and he was the only one I actually ever told until recently. I've opened up to this with my brother and quite a few close mates in the past year or so. But Dad was the only one that knew that I was at that low of a point, and he didn't tell Mum. And I mean, Mum might watch this, so sorry I never told you, Mum. But I didn't want to burden Mum with that because mums never want to hear that about their baby boys. So that was a secret that Dad held with him right up until he passed. So yeah, I think when it came to 2 years ago when Dad died, that was another big battle that we didn't expect. Especially being a work accident, and you don't get to say goodbye, and yeah, that was real tough. And I mean, we still deal with it to this day. I have my days where I get home and look up at my photo of me and him from, I think it was Movember 2 years ago, and yeah, some days I do just break down and cry.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, I've learnt myself over the years that as an individual, yeah, you do need to check in on your mates and ask, are you okay? How are you? And break that ice. But at the end of the day, it does come down to the individual just picking up your balls, to be honest. I know
Yeah.
it's, you don't always have to be a man and carry that load on your shoulders, but sometimes that load on your shoulders is unloading your shoulders,
Yeah.
and it is hard. A lot of people struggle to actually voice what they're going through. And, I think the first time I ever opened up to my brother about everything that happened, um, I was drinking wine, which, it's sad to say that I had to open up, but,
It can be
wine
the
night,
lubricant sometimes.
it opened it up, and then
Mm.
we ended up actually talking about it sober one day because I told him about it. And yeah, I opened up to him, and then yeah, I just found it from opening up to one person, whether it be family or a close friend, it drops weight off your shoulders,
Mm,
instantly. And it might not be all the weight that you're carrying, but yeah, having that conversation, just you feel your shoulders get lighter almost instantly. So
yeah,
yeah, that's been a big thing for me, is just learning as an individual to actually speak. If you are down, don't be afraid to just be honest. And I
yeah,
mean, even if you're going into work and you're not in the right headspace, whether you're in an office or on a site or whatever, just be upfront to your workmates or your foreman or whatever, and just be like, hey, look, I'm not having the best day. So if I say something wrong, if I do something wrong, I'm sorry, but this is how it is. And sometimes that brings them into it, and they go, okay, well, no, how they want to talk about it, and then
yeah,
that chat starts. That chat has sparked, and you talk about it. So yeah,
man.
that's been my big learning curve over the past couple of years. It's
Uh,
just not being afraid to open up about it.
that is massive advice, man, and I'm very appreciative that you're still here with us. Very appreciative for that couple intervening. I don't know if like you're very spiritual or whatever, but that like it feels like they were sent there
Yeah,
for that reason, man. That
yeah.
is, yeah, that's a big experience, man. What do you often reflect on that being, like, have you ever thought about, how did they happen to be there at that time? Like, to me, it feels very spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, especially for where we were in Thornton. I mean, the Thornton River outlet was a good K and a half, 2 Ks from there.
Yeah,
So I don't know if they'd walked from that end or from Coastlands or whatever, or they'd walked off from down by the golf course. But
yeah,
yeah, it was sort of in a place where you don't often see walkers. It's either four-wheel drives or quads.
yeah,
Um, so no, I really, yeah, I haven't thought of it in that aspect, but clearly they were meant to be there that day, and yeah, they were the smiling faces that saved a man.
yeah. Wow, man,
So,
that's heavy. And I appreciate you talking about that on the pod too. Like that's
whereas,
massive, man. And like your words and your actions, I think sometimes you don't know like how much of an impact you can have. Like
yeah,
if even if you talking about your experience like helps one person, like
yeah,
imagine if your courage and opening up saves one person's life. Like,
yeah,
that's huge, man. So it's
yeah.
definitely not unnoticed, and I appreciate you
No,
talking about that.
appreciate it, bro.
And pulling it back a little bit more maybe to the lockdown, it's interesting how you recognize that as being a low point in your life, but then you also highlight the external things or the situation that you put yourself in as being a contributing factor. Because
Yeah,
sometimes I think it can be maybe easy to have that mentality where like, oh man, why is this happening to me? When
yeah,
like it's evident there that you recognize that maybe some of the habits you had established
100%.
probably weren't very conducive to being in a
Yeah,
good place mentally.
they were not healthy habits.
Yeah. And then when it came to your dad passing, how equipped for that experience did you feel at the time? Given, like you said, it was an accident, there's like it's not like a build up where they're ill and then they've been given maybe a set period of time. There's no preparation for that. What was that experience like, and how equipped did you feel to deal with something like that?
Not equipped at all. Um, Nobody's, yeah, sudden loss. There's no way you can prepare for it.
Yeah,
And when something happens like that, you do kick yourself, and you look at the last text you sent or whatever, and go, oh,
mm,
I didn't reply to that, and you beat yourself up about it and whatnot. But yeah, that sort of grief is a is a hard grief to deal with. Not being able to say goodbye, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
yeah,
And it took a toll on, yeah, like I said, all of us, the whole family, even my auntie, my dad's sister, my dad's brother, and I mean my dad's mum. She's still kicking. She's 93 now. And she lost her husband, my pop, when I was maybe 6 or 7. And now she's lost a son. And she tells me all the time when I go see her, she's like, "Oh, just live before you hit 90. Don't try hit 90 and blah, blah, blah." And,
Yeah.
I just, I look at the senior characters and figures in my life that, you know, they just keep soldiering on, and
Mm,
that's, even though you can't equip yourself for that sort of loss, that's where, looking to your grand nan, pop, granddad, whatever, looking at the shit that they've been through in their years, and, sure, I know inside they have their moments and they're hurting, but they still smile, they still
mm,
laugh, life does go on. And it took me a while to sort of process that saying, but life does go on. And I'll never forget Dad. I'll forever love Dad, and I'm just grateful that I got some of his grit and integrity. Me
yeah.
and me and my brother both, and even Mum. It rubbed off on all of us, and I don't think we would be as strong as we are without the man that he was. Raising us how he did, giving us the opportunities that we had. And I'll never forget one thing that stuck with me right through the grieving process. One of Dad's varsity rugby mates came up to me. I think it was the day before his funeral, and we poured a whiskey, funnily enough,
Oh, yeah, nice.
and we're having a whiskey, and he said, "Look, mate, I know your dad was a hard bastard, but," he goes, "I can see that in you too." And he goes, "I've got one little quote I want to leave with you for tomorrow." He goes, "Be the toughest man at your dad's funeral." And I was like, holy. At first, it sort of just went over my head with
Mm,
all that was going on. And then when it came up to speak and say his eulogy, I was up there with my brother. And, you do. My brother's older than me, but yeah, I took that into account and spoke what I'd written down, and my brother spoke second, and yeah, it came across me what he said, and I understood it. You got to be the toughest man at your dad's funeral,
mm,
and I've sort of stuck with that right through till now, and you just got to be the tough man that they raise you to be.
yeah.
You know,
Man,
life
that's
goes on.
powerful. Yeah. And that
No,
speaks to your actions outside of that just the funeral in isolation too. It's like who are the man what man are you outside of
yeah,
this too? You can't just up and be the strongest or whatever you want to call it, the most stoic person there on the day. It's who are you outside of this too, man.
yeah,
That's powerful.
yeah. So
H-
that's a quote that stuck with me.
Yeah. How do you think it has changed your outlook on life or how you interact with friends and family now? Has there been any clear changes in how you approach life after experiencing something like that?
Um, yeah, just, I mean, tomorrow's not guaranteed,
Mm,
for anyone, and that, yeah, we learnt that pretty quick. And I just go day to day with a smile on my face, and if people don't smile back, you do you. But I aim to, put a little bit of light into everyone's day, and whether it just be a smile or a conversation. And, when it comes to family, we've always been a very close family. But obviously over the past 2 years, we're a lot closer now. I'm back in Whakatane most weekends, or mum's building a house at the moment, which was her and dad's dream house.
yeah.
So I'm back and forth between Tauranga and home. We're about to start doing all the work that myself and my brother can do on that. So yeah, it's really brought us a lot closer, and I think in the sense of Dad's mum as well, with her being in Whakatane, every chance I'm back in Whakatane, I'll go to the home and I'll go see Nana. And I mean, even not that it happens a lot nowadays when we go to Wellington to see mum's side of the family. My mum's mum, she's 94, living alone in Palmy.
Oh, cool.
So now we don't make an excuse to,
Yeah.
go past Palmy. We stop in Palmy because yeah, she's had a good innings, but tomorrow's not promised. So it's like you got to go see those loved ones every chance you get.
Yeah,
It's a small detour now, so you may as well do it because it could be the last time. So yeah, just those little things that you might not think about all the time. You start to ponder on a little bit more, and you think that step ahead as
mm,
to how it would make you feel if it
yeah.
was happening to you. So
It just feels like, or it's easy to feel like we're in a time capsule, and if it's just going to stay exactly the same as it is now, and it'll be the same tomorrow and the same. But it's like you say,
no,
man, nothing like is
yeah,
guaranteed, especially like losing someone like that. A grandparent, yep, very sad, but you can kind of like, especially in their 90s, man, that's
yeah,
insane. Like you can, it must feel different, but like it just feels as if losing a parent is just not meant to happen. They're just
no,
always meant to be like a permanent fixture in your life up until
yeah.
you're elderly yourself,
Yeah, up until they're ready to go to sleep, when
Yeah,
they think I've had enough. But yeah.
yeah. Has it changed your view on stress at all? Like, I mean, I guess we're not all immune to stress, but when small things happen, do you ever use it as a point of perspective? Like, ah, fuck, I've been through this stuff before. That's way more difficult than this. Does it affect you less, or do you? I guess it's only human, get caught up in everyday stresses as well.
Yeah, no, I think it once the grieving passes, you do it is a life tool as such.
Yeah,
Going through trauma like that and grief like that, it definitely gives you a new perspective on day to day struggles.
yeah,
Like you might kick your shin on something and it hurts for 30 seconds, but you just go, oh, fuck, that hurt. And then you brush it off,
yeah,
like, yeah, when you go through pain like that, little stresses in life, you brush them off pretty quick, like
yeah,
I'm I'm not a stressed person. I mean, I do get stressed every now and again, but then I, look at the tool that I've gained and learned from the past couple of years and go, well, if I can go through that and come out how I am now, then a little bit of stress isn't going to hurt me. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I think it is a sad thing, but you can definitely turn it into a positive tool for your future.
Mm. And those experiences, including your experience down on the beach. Do you think that those are things that fuel you when you take on board a challenge like you've done this month?
Yeah, I think yeah, that is a big part of it, to be honest, because not too long ago, or what are we now? November, so I think end of September, I recently split off with my last partner, and I thought to myself, I don't want to go back into a rabbit hole. I didn't have the same tendencies and habits as I did back then, where I was, playing Xbox all the time, drinking beer. I was still drinking beer, but I thought, you know, I don't want to put myself in that hole again. And I thought, okay, Movember's coming up. Started doing some running just to clear my head because I needed it. And then, yeah, I got to the point where I was like, actually, I'm gonna challenge myself here. I'm gonna do something to keep my focus going this way. I don't want to be
Mm.
looking that way. I want to be going forward. So that's where came up with the decision to send it and run 200k. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like a fork in the road. I reckon like, I heard it on a podcast somewhere. I can't remember the exact person, but they said we basically have a yes man and a no man on our shoulder. And that like situation, that almost sounded like a fork in the road where it's like, yes, pursue the hard thing that's going to bring you more fulfillment, or like,
yeah,
nah, we're going to go down the easy path again. Let's start
yeah,
drinking more. Let's start playing some more games. It'll be fine. I won't do it for too long. Like it sounds like a fork in the road between the hard,
yeah.
good option or the easy, bad option.
Bad option. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
And it's like that bad option, maybe it's more gratifying and enjoyable in the short term, but think
Yeah.
long term, like where is that going to take you 2 months, 3 months from now,
Yeah.
versus like you
100%.
taking on board a physical challenge. Maybe in the
Yeah.
short term, it might be a bit shit like that first week and you injure your knee, but then thinking long term, like you get to
Yeah.
the end of November after you've completed 200 Ks. Imagine how you're going to feel doing that versus having played 200 games of Warzone or something, you know?
Exactly. Putting 200 hours into the Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
what reward I want.
yeah. That's inspiring stuff, man. And that is such good advice. Like, if you're going through a tough time, try still choose the tough option. Like
Yeah.
pursue something more meaningful. Obviously, talk to people, get your support network, all of that stuff that we hear a lot and we know, but like I think the message of pursue something meaningful isn't really thrown out there much. We know that we should talk to people. We know we should have a support network, and all of that is good stuff. But why not sprinkle in something meaningful that, exactly like you say, has you looking to the future and planning, looking forward, not reflecting on the thing that just happened to you or has happened in the
Yeah.
past. That's good advice,
100%.
man. I like that.
And I feel as though there's no better way to, you might think that your mental health is down in the dumps. Go test your physical health. Go test yourself
Go run up the
elsewhere.
mountain.
Yeah, like honestly, even if you're physically fit and you're down, test yourself with something that's, you're jumping in the deep end of the pool. You've never done it before,
Yeah,
and you'll be surprised on the outcome.
yeah,
You might hate it, but then drive to do something else.
mm,
And yeah, for me, running was that thing. I
yeah,
thought, wow, how can I make myself a little bit tougher up here? I thought I was tough up here, and then I was like, okay, now I'm a little bit down. I'll go for a run. And then I thought, holy fuck, I am so physically unfit. It is not funny. And then
yeah,
I forgot about all my problems, and I thought, oh, that was quite satisfying actually. So I went
yeah,
for another run,
yeah.
and all my problems were gone again. And I was just like, oh, this is actually quite a good little escape here,
It
and it
feels
does
like a
build.
life hack.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah,
it definitely builds character and it builds your mental strength. Just challenging yourself to do something that's the deep end of the pool. You're jumping in with no floaties.
yeah,
Just give it a go.
yeah. And also seeing yourself work towards a meaningful goal brings
Yeah,
positive emotion too. I think so often, kind of like you alluded to, we wake up, we go to work, we come home, we watch TV, cook dinner, watch some more TV, go to bed,
yeah,
repeat, sleep in on the weekend, maybe have a session with the boys, have some beers, hungover, and it's just like this repetitive cycle where the only things in that cycle that are bringing you positive emotion are very fleeting. Like you're watching a good series, you'll watch a funny clip on TikTok like this. It's very
yeah,
fleeting. It's not
yeah.
like a, a gradual process towards some big overarching goal.
Goal. Yeah,
Yeah. And you also, in that sort of 9 to 5 rat race, you kind of don't have a specific focus either. I think it's specific focus brings so much positive emotion too.
yeah,
Like you just pick the one thing. Yeah, you've got work and all that, but why don't you learn how to play guitar, or why don't you sign
yeah,
up to a half marathon, or like pick the
yeah,
thing and like your spare time you dedicate to that. I think all
yeah,
of these little things, like at least just from my experience, help so much. And
yeah,
speaking to the running, how I feel if I go for a run in the morning versus not going for a run in the morning,
yeah,
it's so different. I feel so energized
yeah,
after having gone for a run, or even doing like a podcast like this, doing something that requires a high level of focus, and you're not
yeah,
just like waking up as late as possible, quickly making some breakfast, have a coffee, and quickly get to work. Like,
yeah,
do something that requires some level of focus before
yeah.
starting your day. I don't know. I find
100%.
that helps a lot.
I am actually looking forward to going for a run tomorrow morning because I
Yeah.
started November with a morning run. I was up at 5,
Yeah.
done the 10K, came home, had a shower, had breakfast, and it was a Friday. And I was like the squirrel off over the hedge the whole day. I
But
was full of beans.
isn't it weird? Like you
It
actually,
blew me away.
yeah, like you feel so energized. It's
Yeah,
obviously something like biochemical between the
yeah,
the physical and the mental. Like
yeah,
you just feel energized, and it sustains, right? Like throughout
Yeah.
the whole day, probably up until about 7 or 8 p.m. when you're like, oh, fuck, I got up at 5 this morning. I probably need to go to bed. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I
man.
mean, when you do get home at the end of the day, you're ready for bed. But I mean, hey, you've started your day earlier, finish it a
Yeah,
little early, you know.
yeah. And the thing
So,
about running is it's so accessible too. Like you just
oh,
need some shoes. And
yeah,
I wouldn't say, like, you're probably in a unique position where you play football, so your body's a little bit accustomed to running. But
yeah,
like for people just getting into running, I just say like run, walk, like walk for
yes,
500 meters, run for 500 meters.
yeah.
Do that, like do maybe 2, 3 Ks of that. Do that a few
Mm.
times a week, and then slowly build it up. Or
Build it into the jog.
just send it like you did, but
Just
that's
go for
also quite
gold, you
cool.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, maybe before we wrap it up, what what's after the 200 Ks? Like what does the December look like post Movember? What does that look like?
Um, I'm definitely going to stick at the running. Funny, I actually had this conversation with my sports masseuse this afternoon,
Yeah,
and she goes, "Oh, so what's in store?" Because she was amazed at how well my muscles had recouped,
yeah,
and obviously I am trying to be pretty active with my recoveries and staying on top of it so that I can, push through.
mm,
And she goes, "Oh, have you thought about, running professionally?" And I laughed at her. I said, "No, not really." And she goes, "Oh, well, with how good your muscles recover," she goes, "it's something you could do." And I was like, "Oh, don't fill my head up even more."
yeah.
But we
When's the
got
next
onto the
Olympics? Is it LA?
yeah, yeah. Watch out, Hayden, I'm coming, buddy.
Yeah,
But no, we got onto the subject, and I told her that Dad had done an Ironman. Um, and I've it's been popping up on my Facebook, funnily enough, too.
yeah,
So I do want to do a half marathon next
yeah.
year, and maybe push for even a full
But
next year as well.
you smash a half marathon. Just do a
Yeah,
full. You've almost done a
yeah,
half marathon already.
that's true. That's true. Maybe I will just send it and go for the full. I
Yeah,
sent it from the start, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, no, I honestly thinking a long term goal. I do want to do an Ironman now,
Epic.
and that's purely because Dad done one,
Yeah,
um, and I know that he'd be super proud to see me do one. So
absolutely.
that's something that I've now freshly put on my bucket list.
Do it, man.
Um,
I've had a few Iron Men on the podcast, including like the Ultraman world champ,
yeah,
Simon Cochran. So there's a few dudes I've had on the pod. If they're Kiwis as well.
yeah,
If you were thinking about it, you
yeah.
could reach out to these guys. Really nice people. They could help you out, man. That's a big goal. That would be
It
epic,
is.
man.
It is. No, it'll be something to get on the bucket list and tick off. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh shit, that would be so sick.
Yeah,
See, in a marathon, you have to run a marathon after doing the swim on the bike. So
yeah.
you might as well do a
And it's
marathon.
it's not a small swim and a
No,
small bike.
no,
So
not at all, man.
yeah, that's on the cards now. That's
Yeah,
it's a goal. And I mean, hey, I don't care if I'm in my early 30s when I do it.
bro.
Just
That's
that's my
same again.
second prime.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Same again. These like some of these guys I've had on the pod didn't start swimming till their late 20s, didn't start running till their early 30s, and now they're running ultras. And
Yeah,
I think when it comes to the ultra distance stuff, it's almost like you have a longer span that you're able to do it for. I don't know.
yeah,
I think maybe the explosive, strong, like sprinting, heavy lifting, maybe getting into it at an older age is probably a bit more challenging. But
yeah,
like, nah, like you can easily like still be competitive even like through your 30s into your 40s. It's a good
yeah,
time to start, man. The swimming might
yeah.
be hard though. I don't know how good you are at swimming. I'm
Oh,
shit.
I've done a few years. Oh no, not even a year to be honest. I've done a little bit of swim
I
club.
did a
Done a
few
little
weeks.
bit.
I
I
did a couple
I
of
know how
lessons.
to swim. I can
Yeah.
swim.
Oh, nice,
I,
man.
I don't sink.
Yeah, that's good. Now, obviously, Movember, you're fundraising. If
Yeah,
people do want to donate to your Movember, the easiest thing to do actually, I'll just chuck the link in the description.
yeah,
But I guess another easy way for people to find it is to check you out on Instagram. Can they find it
yeah,
through your Instagram?
yeah. That's on my links in bio on there.
Yeah. And have you
So
been
that's
posting your running on your actual Instagram page, or is it just your story?
Just my story.
I
I've just
think
been doing.
you need to start posting it on your actual Instagram. I was thinking about this so that when
Okay.
people come to your page, they can see it, and then it's like more shareable and like, you know,
Yeah, it's true. That's
that kind of
true.
stuff. So people who aren't your followers can see it more easily too. Because I want to
Yeah.
share your stuff, but it's like all on your story. So yeah, put a couple
Okay. No,
put a couple
I'll
things on the
take that
gram,
into
mate.
my. Yeah, I will. I will.
Yeah, but Nan, I appreciate your time so much, and also for you opening up, being so vulnerable, being willing to share some of the struggles you've been through, man. It's not easy to obviously go through those struggles, but then to talk about them too. I appreciate it, man, and really respect you for doing that.
No worries, man. I appreciate you giving me the call up to come and
Hey,
speak.
no worries, mate. I like doing these Movember episodes. I've done one the past couple of years, so I just want it to become more of a thing. And I've got a few ideas cooking up for upcoming Movembers. So maybe I'll
Well, the
chat
mo's
to you.
looking good too, by the
Oh,
way.
cheers, mate. Oh, this I did this a couple years ago and it just kind of hung around. To be fair, I shaved it off last Movember and then grew it back. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't want it anymore. And I'm like, nah, fuck it, just keep it.
Well, I was gonna do a chopper again, the old
Yeah.
chopper read, but honestly, like it's just the maintenance of shaving. Like my neck gets quite irritated quite easily,
Yeah.
and it becomes a bit of a pain. You get the ingrown hairs and whatnot. So I thought, no, I'm just gonna go with a basic slug. I
Yeah.
know it's gonna be filthy and ginger by the end of the month, but that's okay.
I thought you were going to talk about your shaving mishap the other day. I saw that.
Oh yeah, yeah
Yeah.
got the top.
Yeah, mate. Looks good.
Um, I've been shaving the top on purpose for a couple years now. Saved a
Yeah.
lot on shampoo.
Oh, bro, and haircuts. A haircut
Oh,
over here,
indeed.
£30. I'm like, fuck, that's like 60 something bucks. I'm like,
Oh,
surely I can just buzz this myself. I wear a hat most of the time anyway.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I just sunscreen. Put a bit of sunscreen on. Good to go.
bucket hat. All right,
Yeah.
man. We should probably wrap it up. Appreciate your time, man, once again.
Cheers, bro. Appreciate it.